Hello everyone and welcome to my General Hospital Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Brad's error, Sonny's confrontation, Carly's angry outburst, and Drew's overreaction. According to General Hospital teasers for the upcoming 2 weeks, from March 3rd to March 14th, Sonny Corinthos will engage in a face-off, Drew Quartermaine will overreact, Brad Cooper will make a mistake, and Carly Spencer will have a furious outburst. It appears that Sasha Gilmore Corbin at the Quartermaine estate will be shaken by Jen Sidwell's presence during the week of March 3rd to 7th. Sidwell might attempt to coerce Sasha into making a deal by instilling worry in her about the safety of her unborn child. In the aftermath, Sasha will rely on Jason Morgan, which will present an opportunity for them to become closer. In the meantime, Lulu Spencer will ask Damian Spinelli for assistance, most likely in order to obtain any information Martin Gray may be concealing on the whereabouts of Valentine and Charlotte Cassadine. Drew will corner Curtis Ashford at the Metro Court and threaten him with retaliation. Drew will play dirty in retaliation if he discovers Curtis is undermining him. For Portia Robinson, who believed she had the Brad situation under control, that might mean disaster. Brad delivered the test results tampering proof to Selena Wu, who might share it with Drew as part of a mutually beneficial arrangement, which Portia would soon learn about. Given her history, Ava Jerome might not be the ideal person to receive advice from, even though she will offer some insightful comments for Portia to think about. Brad will believe that his scheme is working in Miami. Fans of GH are aware that Brad had been expecting to become closer to Lucas Jones on this symposium trip, so when Lucas makes any indications of a potential reunion, Brad will be overjoyed. Brad will finally make a significant concession though. Before he sleeps with Lucas, may Brad's guilt cause him to divulge all the drama involving Portia and Selena? Once she uncovers Brad's deceit and exposes his behavior, Portia might even give Lucas a call. If that's the case, it might pressure Brad into making a confession and end his hopes of a Lucas reunion. She'll have a furious outburst with Carly. That might have to do with Willow Corinthos' choice to move into his new home, or even Drew's persistent misbehavior. Carly will eventually make a big decision, which will either require her to exact revenge on Drew, or maybe give in to temptation in the bedroom with Brennan. In any event, Carly will end up going on a date with Jack Brennan, because he wants to help her unwind. Unfortunately, the date is going to be ruined, so keep checking back to see if Sidwell or someone else will interrupt. She'll have an incentive to find Cody Bell after she's back with Lulu, and she'll finally consider her options. As the first step towards the impending big reveal, may Lulu learn about Dante and Brooke Lynn's camp fling? If Lulu learns that Brooke Lynn gave up a baby when she was a teenager, she may begin to gather some clues. Lulu might conclude that Dante is the father as a result. In any case, Lulu may subject Brooke Lynn Quartermaine to a difficult interrogation since she will be forced into a tight spot. According to other GH teasers, Elizabeth Baldwin will talk to Drew while Sonny battles Tracy Quartermaine. When Liz's employment is at stake, she might advise Drew to distance himself from Portia. After that, Willow will become friends with Isaiah Gannon before Isaiah develops a stronger affection for Jordan Ashford. In not too distant a period, will Jordan and Isaiah be ready for some passion? Given that Alexis Davis will receive an invitation to Windmere, it appears that Sidwell might call her in the name of a work-related issue. Since Sidwell constantly seems to have a hidden agenda and is unreliable, Alexis needs to approach cautiously. There may be some surprises over the week of March 10th to 14th, particularly if Spinelli is able to provide Lulu with Martin's private data. Because of his conversation with Lois Cerullo, Martin has case notes about Giovanni Gio Palmieri, which may eventually be discovered. Nina Reeves, on the other hand, will eventually take advantage of Drew's safe combination. Nina will be even more driven to gain leverage and overthrow Drew once she receives information about Willow deciding to live with him. Don't miss any of the surprising news that will be revealed soon, as our forecasts indicate that the situation between Drew and Nina will become unmanageable. After wasting his second shot with Lucas, Brad might finally be in a bad place. This is particularly true as it will allow Lucas to move on romantically and put Brad in the past. Stick with the ABC soap opera because the next 2 weeks will be filled with highs and lows, according to General Hospital spoilers. Parents disagree, dates are interrupted, and fathers and sons are secret. Updates and teasers for the week of Monday, March 3rd to Friday, March 7th on General Hospital hint to secret fathers and sons, broken dates and conflicting parents. Carly Spencer's date is interrupted, Brooke Lynn chases parents argue, and secret father and son Dante Falconeri and Gio Palmieri converse. Confrontation between former friends and secret fathers and sons. On Monday, March 3rd, Gio tells Dante that he believes he is the only person who will understand him during a father-son chat, in which neither party is aware that they are actually father and son. In another scene, Curtis Ashford and Portia Robinson are having lunch when Drew Quartermaine interrupts, and the two former friends argue. During another get-together with friends, Lulu Spencer requests a favor from Damian Spinelli. Jen Sidwell attempts to negotiate in the meantime, but it could also end in conflict. Jason Morgan also receives information from Sasha Corbin. Disclosures and self-beliefs. Brad Cooper confesses on Tuesday, March 4th. Might this be related to his hope that he and Lucas Jones would get back together in Monday's show? Emma Scorpio Drake confides in Gio in another place. Laura Collins has some news for Curtis in the meanwhile. Will Drew or perhaps Brad's Aunt Selena Wu be the one threatening Portia with harm? Additionally, Carly becomes very irritated over something and snaps at someone. Interrupted dates and covering tracks. What is causing the disruption to Carly and Jack Brennan's date on Wednesday, March 5th? Lois Chirulo is feverishly trying to hide her identity elsewhere. This must be related to Gio, Brooke Lynn's secret kid. Meanwhile, Lulu looks for Cody Bell, her former savior and her ex-husband's friend. Ava Jerome also offers Portia some wise counsel. Felicia Scorpio receives the information that Anna Devane has to provide as well. Old lovers meet, new friends are made. Isaiah Gannon becomes Willow Corinthos' new friend on Thursday, March 6th. Elizabeth Baldwin meets with her former lover Drew in another location. Perhaps she believes she can reach him while others have failed. Tracy Quartermaine and Sonny Corinthos are having a heated argument elsewhere. Meanwhile, Lulu considers her next course of action. Will she pursue Valentine and Charlotte Cassadine once more? At last, Sidwell moves into Windmere, where Alexis Davis is called. What could he possibly want with Alexis? Hot seats and important choices. Brooke Lynn is in the hot seat on Friday, March 7th. Has the truth about Gio leaked out, given that Lois attempted to hide some tracks? Carly has to make a significant decision in the interim. Will it have anything to do with her daughter Jocelyn Jacks, who is missing, and her relationship with Brennan? Emma worries about her grandmother Anna in another place. Has she also vanished? Will Brooke Lynn, a previous covert teenage mother, be in the spotlight for the same reason her mother Lois attempted to hide her identity? Meanwhile, her parents, Ned Quartermaine and Lois Quartermaine, argue. Threatening confrontations, hopeful ex-husbands, and an unknown father-son conversation are all hinted at in General Hospital spoilers and updates for Monday, March 3rd. Brad Cooper is an optimistic ex-husband. Drew Quartermaine delivers a menacing confrontation, and Dante Falconeri and Gio Palmieri have an unspoken father-son conversation. Unwilling favors. When Sonny Corinthos finds himself in a difficult situation, he looks to Lucy Coe for help. He told Jason Morgan about a call he dreaded making in Friday's show, which finally prompted him to get in touch with Lucy. Sonny discloses that he thinks she can help with a few urgent issues. In addition to searching for a new residence, he also needs to know more about Jen Sidwell. One can only hope that Sonny isn't asking Lucy to obtain information about Sidwell, but rather is just looking for her real estate knowledge. Who could forget the mayhem that followed her effort to spy on Victor Cassadine after all? Making threats of showdowns. Tension between these two former close friends is high as Drew and Curtis Ashford get into a furious argument. Drew's voice increases as he jabs a finger accusingly at Curtis, saying, "You take something from me, I take something from you." Even though none of the competitors are wearing weapons, spurs, or cowboy hats, the tense mood suggests a possible confrontation at the Aurora Corral. With the help of Stella Henry, Curtis has devised a plan to use a political link to damage Drew's reputation in Washington, D.C. It appears that Drew may have already been subjected to Stella's political allies' anger after stealing Aurora from him. Ex-husbands with hope. Brad and Lucas Jones are having a sincere talk in the interim, and it's obvious that Brad would want to revive their previous affair. "Are you suggesting there might be a future for us?" Brad asks, looking into Lucas' face with a mixture of hope and nostalgia. Wiley Corinthos is approaching puberty, And years have passed since the chaos of the baby swap. The crucial question still stands. Has Lucas recovered enough to reopen his heart to Brad with caution? Or will Brad be let down when he discovers he misinterpreted Lucas' intentions? Unknown father-son conversation. Gio and Dante eat lunch at Bobby's, but there's a sense of gravity about the air. Gio confides in Dante about his inner turmoil since he thinks that Dante is the only person who can really relate to his difficulties. Unbeknownst to them, they are having a dialogue that is essentially a father-son exchange, and Dante may be understanding Joe's turmoil on a deeper level than he thinks. Gio is furious over Tracy Quartermain's tirade about Drew, and is utterly indifferent to Scout Quartermain's feelings. Even though he was adopted, he is all too familiar with the anguish of losing a mother and growing up without a father. Innocent hints or friendly advice. Right now, Lulu Spencer is giving Damian Spinelli some very sincere counsel. Her smile lights up the room as she tells him, "That's absolutely worth taking the chance." She might be encouraging him to think about getting back together with Maxie Jones and possibly pop the question. They were on the verge of getting married, all decked out and prepared to say "I do," but destiny had other ideas, and they never made it to the wedding ceremony. For more over a year now, they have been living with Maxie's kids, including their own daughter Georgie Spinelli. Even if it involves trying more than 3 times for their happily ever after to be a success, perhaps it's time for them to make the leap again. Both Sasha and her attacker are in danger. Sasha Corbin is in danger in the Quartermain kitchen, holding a meat mallet like a warrior poised for combat. She faces her unexpected invader with great conviction, saying, "Go now or I scream." After her angry outburst at the deception meeting, is Sidwell returning to establish her dominance? Maybe she should reach for a knife instead of the mallet if this really is a life or death situation. That mallet may, however, strike a tremendous hit, to be fair. Colette informed Jack that Jason had just been brought in for interrogation by the PCPD. Carly interrupted, so they were unable to talk about the issue for too long. She had a confession to make, but she also thanked him for fixing her plumbing the previous evening. Carly had intended to invite Jack to stay the night if he hadn't received a call. It would have been a huge mistake. Or maybe I am just worried for nothing, and you would have just turned me down anyway, Carly replied. Jack acknowledged that if she had asked, he would have stayed. After giving it some more thinking, Carly clarified that she didn't want to sleep with Jack until she was aware of their current relationship status. Jack didn't know what they should call themselves, but he was quite content to take his time and figure it out. The only items left at Cyrus' cabin, according to Anna, were 2 pieces of hair that were recognized as belonging to Jason. He maintained that he had an alibi to support his claims that he had never been at Cyrus' cabin. Drew's alibi seemed strange to Anna, but she exited the interrogation room when she saw Jocelyn. The DA's office had officially withdrawn Anna from the Cyrus case, claiming her lack of objectivity toward Jason, which astonished Anna. Jocelyn spoke up as soon as she learned that Jason was going to be charged. She said, "You don't understand. Jason didn't do it." Joss ran to see Jack when she and Anna didn't get along. Colette informed Jack that Jocelyn was present over the phone in a subtle manner. After hanging up, Jack told Carly that Jason had just been arrested by the PCPD. Carly left as a result, allowing Jocelyn to enter Jack's office without her mother seeing. Because the police thought Jason had killed Cyrus, Jocelyn began yelling in Jack's face, demanding that he take action. "And I don't know how, but somehow Jason's DNA ended up in the cabin," Jocelyn said. Jack said, "Because we put it there," as Joss was stunned. They had to locate another suspect since, according to Jack, Jocelyn did a fantastic job of finding Cyrus, but a terrible one of setting up a tidy crime scene. Jason fit the bill nicely, Jack thought. He also told Joss that since Cyrus' body would never be recovered, Jason would not be going to jail. Jack advised Jocelyn to only say the word, and he would see to it that Cyrus' body was located so that a real inquiry could begin since she didn't think she could be a party to this. "Can you promise me Jason won't go to prison?" said Joss. When Jack gave her a gesture of approval, Jocelyn chose to remain silent. Jack suggested that Jocelyn join the WSB once more. "I am asking you to serve, to protect, to do your part," he stated. Jason declared that without his lawyer there, he had nothing to say in the interview room. Anna inquired as to whether Jason had brought up his alibi after the ADA left the room. Anna was promptly instructed by the ADA to bring Jason's alibi to the police. Anna gave Carly some information shortly after her arrival. She was shocked to hear that Jason had publicly vowed to murder Cyrus, and that Cyrus was the cause of Dex and Sam's deaths. Then Drew and Willow showed there, and Carly was relieved to hear that Jason claimed to have an alibi. In order to ask Maxie how Scout would like her room decorated, Drew invited Alexis to his new house. Alexis was certain that Maxie would make a fantastic choice. Alexis used the moment Maxie left the room to inform Drew that Cyrus had murdered Sam. Scout was too little to hear such terrible news, so Alexis didn't think he should tell her now. To the relief of his former mother-in-law, Drew concurred with Alexis. Willow arrived after Alexis left, but Drew was let down to see Nina with her. Maxie left Nina and Drew alone to talk as she escorted Willow into another room to examine window treatments. "If you think this place is going to have a mother-in-law suite, think again," Drew advised. "If you think I am ever going to be your mother-in-law, think again," Nina replied. Willow and Michael weren't even divorced yet, she reminded Drew. Drew seemed unconcerned. "I think Willow will do whatever makes her kids happy, and that includes marrying me and making our family together. It's only a matter of time, Nina, so you either get on board or lose Willow again. It's really up to you," Drew said. Drew was accused by Nina of pressuring Willow into a decision she wasn't ready to make. Willow was a grown lady, Drew thought, but Nina reminded out that she was still vulnerable. Nina believed that Drew was merely trying to outdo Jason. With 2 children already, Drew reminded Nina that he was able to conceive. "So Jason got Sasha pregnant and you have to prove you could do it too?" he asked. Nina sneered at Drew's conclusion that she was envious of his and Willow's connection. Before long, Willow and Maxie were back in the living room. The police called and asked Drew to come in for a conversation as he and Willow were about to depart to pick up Scout's new bed. Willow went with him. When Nina was by herself, she pleaded with Maxie to assist her in preventing Willow from moving in with Drew. When Nina asked Maxie to break into Drew's safe, she was surprised. "I know Drew. He might look all Boy Scout on the outside, but on the inside, he's as corrupt as they come," said Nina. Instead of searching for evidence of unidentified wrongdoing, Maxie advised Nina to simply tell Willow the truth about her affair with Drew. Willow needed Nina, but she wanted to be honest with her, Nina thought. "If I tell her the truth, she'll be on her own," Nina countered. Maxie threatened to force Willow and Drew closer together if Nina didn't accept their relationship. Maxie suggested that the combination to Drew's safe was in a folder on the coffee table after Nina nudged him further. Brad asked Felicia about the Florida symposium schedule, and Lucas overheard. The fact that Portia had picked Brad to attend impressed him. Brad made an effort to arrange things with Lucas when they were in Miami. Selena stepped out from behind Brad before Lucas could react. Selena drew him aside and gave him a letter of resignation to present to Portia. "Now you're resigning because you're coming back to work for me," she replied. Selena wanted Brad to be her errand boy once more in order to settle the balance owing to Cody. Jordan was left alone to face the lady mobstress when Felicia told Portia that Selena was present. Selena was asked to leave the building by Portia right away. Selena gave Brad some cautions that Portia didn't comprehend before leaving. Later, she texted Brad to invite him to the surf lounge. Brad followed instructions and pleaded with Selena to simply let him live his life. Selena didn't care that he was so close to getting Lucas back. "You owe me, and one way or another your debt will be paid," she said. Portia, who had been growing to trust Brad, was then deceived by him. As recompense, he provided Selena with evidence that Portia had manipulated Heather's test results. She may now influence the head of GH's staff. Lucas met Alexis in the hospital hallways while Brad saw his aunt. She was curious about his level of knowledge of Sam's passing. Lucas acknowledged that he was well informed and had been for a while. Lucas clarified that after learning how Sam died, he, Elizabeth, and Lucky conducted their own research. "So the police knew, and all of you knew, and nobody bothered to say anything to me until after my grandson confronted Cyrus?" Alexis was bewildered. Lucas remained silent until they had evidence. Alexis was unconcerned. "I am her mother and deserved to know," she replied. The remainder of the night was a haze, but Alexis recalled Lucas informing them about Sam's passing. Lucas didn't show up for Sam's funeral because she was afraid she had placed the blame on him. Danny told Lucas to leave after he acknowledged that he had visited the chapel. Kai took Trina to one of her favorite art institutions in Port Charles. To her astonishment, he said he might get season passes. He then took her to a brand new exhibition where local artists may submit their own works. After donning white coveralls, the two set out to paint. Trina thought Kai's painting demonstrated artistic intent, but Kai wasn't even certain of his own abilities. I guess it represents me. I have no idea what I am going to do next. Football was the only thing I knew until you, he said. Carly's fierce outburst. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Carly's penthouse, but the warmth of the light did little to soothe her simmering anger. She paced back and forth, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Her phone buzzed incessantly on the coffee table, but she ignored it. The news had just broken, and Carly was livid. Drew had done it again. He had crossed a line she thought they both agreed to respect. Their partnership in the business had always been tenuous, built on a fragile foundation of trust and mutual benefit. But now Drew had gone too far. He had made a decision without consulting her, a decision that could jeopardize everything they had worked for. Carly's mind raced as she replayed the conversation she'd had with him earlier that morning. His calm, almost dismissive tone had only fueled her rage. How could he? She muttered to herself, her fists clenched at her sides. After everything we've been through, he just blindsides me like this? Carly wasn't one to back down from a fight. She had built her reputation on being fierce, unyielding, and fiercely protective of those she loved. But this wasn't just about business. This was personal. Drew had betrayed her trust, and Carly wasn't about to let that slide. She grabbed her phone and scrolled through her contacts until she found Drew's number. Her fingers trembled with anger as she typed out a message. We need to talk. Now. The response came almost immediately. I'm at the office. Come by whenever. Carly didn't waste any time. She grabbed her coat and stormed out of the penthouse, her mind already racing with the words she would say. She wasn't going to let Drew off easy. Not this time. Drew goes too far. Drew sat at his desk, his expression calm but his mind anything but. He knew Carly would be furious when she found out what he had done, but he had convinced himself it was necessary. The business was at a crossroads and he had to make a tough decision. He just hadn't expected Carly to react so strongly. When Carly burst into his office, her eyes blazing with fury, Drew stood up, ready to face the storm. Carly, listen. He began, but she cut him off. No, you listen, she snapped, slamming the door behind her. How could you do this, Drew? How could you make a decision like that without even talking to me? Drew sighed, running a hand through his hair. I didn't have a choice, Carly. The deal was time-sensitive and I had to act fast. I tried to call you, but you didn't answer. Oh, so this is my fault now? Carly shot back, her voice rising. You could have waited, Drew. You could have trusted me enough to include me in the decision. But no, you just went ahead and did whatever you wanted like always. Drew's patience was wearing thin. Carly, this isn't about trust. This is about the business. We're partners, but that doesn't mean we have to agree on everything. Sometimes I have to make the hard calls. And what about me? Carly demanded, stepping closer to him. What about my input? Or does that not matter to you anymore? Drew's jaw tightened. Of course it matters. But you weren't there, Carly. I had to make a decision, and I stand by it. Carly shook her head, her eyes narrowing. You've gone too far this time, Drew. And I'm not going to let you get away with it. The tension between them was palpable, the air thick with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. Drew knew he had crossed a line, but he also knew there was no going back. The damage was done, and all he could do now was brace himself for the fallout. Brad's blunder. Meanwhile, across town, Brad was dealing with a crisis of his own. He had always been a man who prided himself on his ability to navigate tricky situations. But this time he had made a mistake, a big one. It had started innocently enough. Brad had been working on a new project, something he thought would be a game-changer for the company. But in his eagerness to get ahead, he had overlooked a crucial detail. A detail that had now come back to haunt him. When the news broke, Brad's heart sank. He had been so focused on the potential rewards that he hadn't stopped to consider the risks. And now the consequences were staring him in the face. How could I have been so stupid? He muttered to himself, pacing his office. He knew he had to fix this, but he wasn't sure how. The damage was already done, and the fallout was spreading fast. Brad's phone buzzed, and he glanced at the screen. It was a text from Carly. "We need to talk now." Brad's stomach churned. He knew Carly would be furious when she found out what had happened, and he couldn't blame her. He had let her down, and he had let himself down. He took a deep breath and typed out a response. "I'm on my way." As he grabbed his coat and headed out the door, Brad couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to face the consequences of his blunder. And he wasn't sure he was ready for what was coming. Sonny's face-off. Sonny sat in the dimly lit back room of his club, his expression grim. The news had reached him, and he wasn't happy. Drew's decision had sent shockwaves through the business world, and Sonny knew it was only a matter of time before the fallout reached him. He had always had a complicated relationship with Drew. They were allies, but their alliance was built on a foundation of mutual distrust. And now with Drew's latest move, that foundation was crumbling. When the door opened and Drew walked in, Sonny didn't bother to stand up. He just leaned back in his chair and fixed Drew with a cold stare. "You've got some nerve showing up here," Sonny said, his voice low and dangerous. Drew didn't flinch. "I came to talk, Sonny. We need to figure out how to fix this." "Fix this?" Sonny repeated, his tone incredulous. "You're the one who caused this mess, Drew. And now you expect me to clean it up?" Drew sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't have a choice, Sonny. The deal was time-sensitive and I had to act fast." "And what about the consequences?" Sonny demanded, his voice rising. "Did you even stop to think about what this would do to the rest of us?" Drew's jaw tightened. "I did what I had to do, and I stand by it." Sonny stood up, his eyes blazing with anger. "You've crossed the line, Drew, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." The tension between them was electric, the air thick with the promise of violence. Drew knew he was in dangerous territory, but he also knew there was no going back. The damage was done, and all he could do now was brace himself for the fallout. The fallout. As the day wore on, the fallout from Drew's decision continued to spread. Carly's fierce outburst had set the tone, and now everyone was feeling the effects. Brad's blunder had only added fuel to the fire, and Sonny's face-off with Drew had escalated the tension to new heights. Carly sat in her penthouse, her mind racing. She knew she had to do something, but she wasn't sure what. Drew had betrayed her trust, and she wasn't sure she could ever forgive him. But she also knew that the business was at stake, and she couldn't afford to let her emotions get in the way. Brad, meanwhile, was trying to pick up the pieces of his shattered reputation. He knew he had made a mistake, but he was determined to make it right. He just wasn't sure how. And Sonny was biding his time. He knew the game wasn't over yet, and he was ready to make his move. Drew had crossed a line, and Sonny wasn't about to let him get away with it. Secret fathers and sons, dates interrupted, parents disagree. A tale of love, conflict, and family dynamics. Family dynamics have always been a rich source of storytelling, offering a window into the complexities of human relationships, generational divides, and the often unspoken tensions that simmer beneath the surface. The themes of secret fathers and sons, dates interrupted, parents disagree, evoke a narrative ripe with emotional depth, conflict, and the potential for growth. This essay will explore these themes in detail, weaving a story that delves into the intricacies of father-son relationships, the fragility of romantic connections, and the inevitable clashes that arise when parental expectations collide with personal desires. The secret father-son dynamic. At the heart of this narrative lies the relationship between a father and son, one shrouded in secrecy and unspoken truths. The father, a man of few words, carries the weight of his own past, a past marked by sacrifices, regrets, and decisions made out of necessity rather than desire. His stoic demeanor masks a deep love for his son, but his inability to express this love creates a chasm between them. The son, on the other hand, yearns for his father's approval and guidance but feels perpetually shut out, unable to bridge the emotional distance that separates them. This secretive dynamic is further complicated by the father's hidden life, a life that the son knows nothing about. Perhaps the father is involved in a profession or activity that he deems too dangerous or shameful to reveal to his family. Or maybe he harbors a secret that, if uncovered, could shatter the fragile equilibrium of their relationship. This secrecy breeds resentment in the son, who interprets his father's silence as indifference or disapproval. The son, in turn, begins to hide aspects of his own life, creating a cycle of concealment that only deepens their estrangement. The tension between them comes to a head when the son discovers a fragment of his father's hidden life. A photograph, a letter, or a chance encounter that reveals a side of his father he never knew existed. This discovery forces the son to confront his own assumptions and prejudices, challenging him to see his father not as an authority figure but as a flawed, complex human being. The revelation also prompts the father to finally open up, leading to a moment of catharsis that allows them to begin rebuilding their relationship on a foundation of honesty and mutual understanding. Dates interrupted. The fragility of romantic connections. Interwoven with the father-son narrative is the story of the son's romantic relationship, which serves as a counterpoint to the familial tensions he experiences. The son, eager to escape the emotional turmoil at home, throws himself into a new romance, hoping to find solace and validation in the arms of his partner. However, his unresolved issues with his father begin to seep into his relationship, creating a ripple effect that threatens to derail his budding romance. The dates between the son and his partner are marked by moments of genuine connection and intimacy, but these moments are frequently interrupted by external forces, phone calls from his father, unexpected family obligations, or the son's own emotional baggage. These interruptions serve as metaphors for the broader challenges they face as a couple, highlighting the difficulty of maintaining a relationship when one or both partners are grappling with unresolved personal issues. One particularly poignant scene might involve a date night that is interrupted by a call from the father, who needs the son's help with a task that could easily wait. The son, torn between his loyalty to his father and his desire to prioritize his relationship, reluctantly agrees to help, leaving his partner feeling neglected and unimportant. This incident becomes a turning point in their relationship, forcing them to confront the underlying issues that have been simmering beneath the surface. The partner, too, has their own struggles and insecurities, which further complicate their dynamic. Perhaps they come from a family where emotional expression was encouraged, making it difficult for them to understand the son's reticence and emotional guardedness. Or maybe they have their own history of failed relationships, leaving them wary of fully committing to someone who seems unable to prioritize their needs. As the relationship teeters on the brink of collapse, the son is forced to confront the ways in which his unresolved issues with his father have impacted his ability to love and be loved. This realization becomes a catalyst for growth, prompting him to seek therapy or engage in self-reflection, in order to break the cycle of emotional repression that has defined his life thus far. Parents disagree. The clash of generational values. The final thread in this narrative tapestry is the conflict between the parents, whose differing values and parenting styles serve as a microcosm of the broader generational divide. The father, shaped by the hardships of his own upbringing, believes in tough love and self-reliance, viewing emotional vulnerability as a sign of weakness. The mother, on the other hand, advocates for open communication and emotional expression, believing that a child's well-being is best served by a nurturing and supportive environment. This fundamental disagreement creates a rift between the parents, one that is exacerbated by their differing approaches to parenting their son. The father's insistence on discipline and self-sufficiency clashes with the mother's desire to protect and nurture, leading to frequent arguments and a growing sense of resentment. Their inability to find common ground not only strains their marriage but also sends mixed messages to their son, who is left feeling confused and torn between their conflicting expectations. The parents' disagreement comes to a head when the son faces a major life decision, perhaps choosing a career path, moving away for college, or deciding whether to propose to his partner. The father, believing that the son should prioritize practicality and financial stability, pushes him toward a more conventional path. The mother, however, encourages the son to follow his heart, even if it means taking risks or defying societal expectations. This clash of values forces the son to grapple with his own desires and aspirations, ultimately leading him to make a decision that reflects his own values, rather than those of his parents. In doing so, he begins to carve out his own identity, separate from the expectations and influences of his family. This act of self-determination marks a pivotal moment in his journey toward adulthood, allowing him to break free from the cycle of generational conflict and forge his own path. Resolution and growth. As the narrative unfolds, the threads of secrecy, interrupted romance, and parental disagreement begin to converge, leading to a resolution that is both poignant and hopeful. The father, confronted with the consequences of his emotional distance, begins to open up to his son, sharing the stories and experiences that have shaped his life. This act of vulnerability allows the son to see his father in a new light, fostering a sense of empathy and understanding that bridges the gap between them.